So once again, welcome to today's call and thank you very much for joining us. Moving on to the next session, which is Srimad Bhagavatam class. I will let all the devotees on the call to please go ahead with your introductions now.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai, Priti Dasi from Charlotte. Hare Krishna and happy Ekadasi 12. Hare Krishna.
Happy Ekadashi Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Nirvat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Arvind Dakshda from Chicago, and happy Ekadashi to all devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Arvind Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharajas, and all glories to the assembled devotees. This is Tiffany in Pennsylvania, and happy Ekadashi, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Tiffany Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, and to all the assembled devotees. This is Megha from Naperville. Happy Ekadashi to everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Megha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Gauranga, and all assembled devotees. Yashomati from Chicago, and happy Ekadashi to every devotee, all dear devotees.
Hare Krishna, Yashomati Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji. This is Kamadi Dasi from Baltimore. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj and all the devotees, and happy Ekadashi to all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Kamadika Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Srila Prabhupada. This is Priti Vilasini Devidasi. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Priti Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devidasi from Texas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajis. My humble obeisances to you and all the devotees. This is Krishna Kumari Devidasi from Ram.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Kumari Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam to you and all Vaishnava. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Vrinda.
Hare Krishna, Vrinda Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji. My Dandavat Pranam to you and to all assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru and Gauranga. Happy Ekadashi, Madhav Tithi ki jai, Bhakti Janani Tithi ki jai, Harivasa Tithi ki jai. This is Pooja Arora from Haridwar.
Hare Krishna, Pooja Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Padmasakhi Devidasi from Tampa, Florida.
Hare Krishna, Padmasakhi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Shama Gauri Devidasi from Charlotte.
Hare Krishna, Shama Gauri Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, all glories to assembled devotees. This is Mohini Lakshmi from Detroit.
Hare Krishna, Mohini Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to all Guru Maharajas, all glories to the Assembly devotees. This is Shiromani Nandani Devidasi from Krishna Katha. Happy Ekadashi to everyone, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Shrimani Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Do we have any more introductions before we start the class?
Hare Krishna Lakshmi Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all the assembled devotees. This is Induleka Karna Devi Dasi from Lincoln.
Hare Krishna Induleka Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Lakshmi Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Anita from Sharjah.
Hare Krishna Anita Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Valli from Naperville, Chicago. Hare Krishna, happy Ekadasi to everyone.
Hare Krishna Valli Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha conference call. We are extremely fortunate to have His Grace Nityananda Prabhuji here with us today. And Prabhuji would be enlightening us by discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 1 and verse 51. But before we dive into this nectarine class, I will request Raj Prabhuji to share a brief introduction about His Grace Nityananda Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Raj Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Over to you.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavat Pranam to you and all the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Shri Guru and Gauranga. Happy Ekadashi to all the assembled devotees. This is a very brief introduction for Prabhuji. Our speaker for today is Senior Brahmachari from Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Temple, His Grace Nityananda Prabhuji. Prabhuji is a disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. His Grace Nityananda Prabhu originally hails from Ramanathpuram, Rameshwaram, Tamil Nadu. Prabhuji joined the ashram at the very young age of 19. Prabhuji served for a decade in Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Temple, and then he studied under the auspices of Srila Prabhupada disciple, His Grace Gopi Paranadhan Prabhu, for 3 years. Prabhuji preaches in English and Tamil languages. That's a very brief introduction of Prabhuji. Over to you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Raj Prabhuji, for that introduction. Hare Krishna Nityananda Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for your valuable time and association this morning and enlightening us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam. Without further ado, I would like to request you to please take over from here. Hare Krishna.
Don't see Prabhuji on the call, Mataji. Oh, Prabhuji is there. Yeah.
Prabhuji is there.
Yes. I think he just connected with audio, so we might have to ask again, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I'm not sure he can hear us.
Thank you. Hare Krishna and Pranam. Is my voice audible?
Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks. Just a second. अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapatakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are reading 6th canto, chapter 1, text 51, correct? Yes. Tatetat shodashakalam lingam shaktitrayam mahate dhatte anusamsritim pumsi harsha shokabhayardidam. Tadetat shodashakalam Tadetat shodashakalam lingam shaktitrayam mahate dhatte anusamsritim pumsi harsha shokabhayardidam. Tadetat shodashakalam lingam shaktitrayam mahate dhatte anusamsritim pumsi harsha shokabhayardidam. Is it some devotee should recite, or we'll go ahead? How is the system here?
You can continue with it.
Okay. So that's it. Therefore, etat this shodashakalam made of 16 parts, namely the 10 senses, the mind, and the 5 sense of the lingam, the subtle body, shakti trayam, the effect of the 3 modes of material nature, mahate, insurmountable, dhatte, gives, anusamsritim, almost perpetual rotation and transmigration in different types of bodies. Pumsi, and the living entity, harsha, jubilation, shoka, lamentation, bhaya, fear, arti, misery, dham, which gives. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The subtle body is endowed with 16 parts, the 5 knowledge acquiring senses, 5 working senses, 5 object of sense gratification, and the mind. The subtle body is an effect of the 3 modes of material nature. It is composed of insurmountable strong desires, and therefore it causes the living entity to transmigrate from one body to another in human life. Another in human life, animal life, and life as a demigod. When the living entity gets the body of a demigod, he is certainly very jubilant. When he gets a human body, he is always in lamentation. And when he gets the body of an animal, he is always afraid. In all conditions, however, he is actually miserable. His miserable condition is called samsmriti, or transmigration of life, purport by Srila Prabhupada. The sum and substance of material conditional life is explained in this verse. The living entity, the 17th element, is struggling alone, life after life. This struggle is called samsmriti, or material conditional life. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the force of material nature is insurmountably strong. Daivi Hesha Gunamayi Amamaya Duratyaya. The material nature harasses the living entity in different bodies, but if the living entity surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he becomes free from this entanglement. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Mamevaye Prapatyante Mayam Etan Tarantite. Thus his life becomes successful. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this sixth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which all of you are studying every day. It's a great privilege and honor for me to be in all your association. So many eminent devotees gives class in this forum, I believe. So it is a purification of my heart with the blessings of all of you. I'll try to say some words from this verse inspired by Srila Prabhupada purpose. So the sixth canto is Poshanam. Srimad Bhagavatam has many subject matters. 10 subject matter it discusses. Atta Sargo Visargasya Sthanam Poshanam Utaya Manmantara Ishanikata Mukti Nirodha Ashraya. So these are the 10 subject matters of the Bhagavatam. And in the other cantos, Sarga Visarga, primary creation, secondary creation, and so on, are discussed in other cantos. In the sixth canto, especially Poshanam. Poshanam means Krishna's protection is being described. So in description of Krishna's extraordinary protection, the pastime of Ajamila has been narrated by Sukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. So how Krishna is protecting the devotees. So protection means there is a danger. There is no question of protection in the spiritual world, in the sense that there are no dangers there are no difficulties, there is no misery there. So the protection implies in generally that there is a danger, there is a difficulty, there is misery, and so on. So what is a misery? What are the difficulties in life? So if we understand that the difficulties are the external imposition on the living entity. So Jiva, we are all by nature, we are happy. Anandamaya Abhyasat, so the Shastra says. So all of us, we are all happy. By nature, we are all happy. Nobody wants to be miserable, Even sometimes you may say that people want to commit suicide. So how can you say that they are not miserable? Because they're miserable, they want to commit suicide. And committing suicide is also a misery. So how can you say the living entities always seek happiness if they want to commit suicide? But actually speaking, even such kind of committing suicide is also, they're looking for happiness. What is their understanding? The right now, the misery I'm not able to tolerate. So by committing suicide, I will be free from this misery and I will attain happiness. That's what every jiva is thinking. So everybody is, even a saddest person who wants to make his own life miserable. So he is getting some happiness. Ultimately, being happy is a nature of the every jiva, every living entity. So that being happy, being satisfied, being in blissful condition of life is a natural quality of all the living entities. But from where the misery came, the misery or miserable situation is an external imposition on the jiva. So that's why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Matra Sarushasta Kaunteya Tetosna Sukha Dukkada. Agama apayino nityaha tam stitikshrastu bharata. Hey Bharata, who is born in the dynasty of Bharat Maharaj, that this happiness and distress both are, and the material happiness and the distress both are a temporary phase of life. Just like rainy season, winter season and summer season, they come and go. Agama apayina, just like guests or relatives come home. So why they're called relative? Because they sometimes they come and they go. So agama apayina. Agama means coming. Apayina means going. So it's not all the time they stay. So Krishna's example is this winter and summer season. So like that they come and go. But because they are come and go, they are temporary in nature. Agama apayina anityaha. They are temporary in nature. So you don't worry so much about it. But what you do? Tam stitikshasva bharata. You tolerate. So why Krishna is saying anitya? If we say that misery is anitya, that is wanted thing. But Krishna also says that the happiness is also you should tolerate. So why Krishna talking about happiness? Also you should tolerate. Titikshasva, tolerate Arjuna, both happiness and misery. So if somebody is been given, I know Ekadashi day, we are all many devotees fasting. So we are all fasting. So there may be some difficulty. So tolerate the hunger, tolerate the Vegas. So you can say tolerate. But if Dwadasi day, if there is nice plate of prasadam come, and you say that, please tolerate this prasadam. Nobody say, I will happily, whatever is it, tolerate or enjoy, I will happily accept it. There is no question of tolerance, especially the most favorite prasadam is given. So happiness, nobody wants to tolerate, we want to enjoy it. But Krishna here says, tolerate happiness and misery. So what kind of happiness then Krishna is talking about? So here, the happiness what Krishna is talking about, Matra Spurashahtakonte Sitoshna Sukha Dukkada. Sukha Dukkha. What Sukha is talking about is the Sukha is talking about is the material pleasure. The material pleasure one should tolerate. Why? This material pleasure has a particular nature. What is the nature of the material pleasure? This material pleasure is not pleasure in pure sense. The material pleasures, Sukhas, are always tinged with the miseries. Dukkha sambinnam sukham. It is always connected with another misery. Just like if you see we take a sweet rice. When you take sweet rice, it is very sweet. But if it is some sand is added to the sweet rice, then what happens? That sweet rice is pleasurable, while eating. But when the sand is added, it is disturbing. It creates a lot of trouble. So just like the sand mixed with sweet rice, person cannot give it up. At the same time, it is also creating uncomfortable difficulties while eating. Similarly, in this material world, the sukha or happiness is always tinged with misery. It is not pure sukha. So big and also it is temporary in nature. It comes and so because of these two reasons. The first reason is the sukha is not pure, the happiness is not pure, it is covered with misery. And second, even such kind of happiness is also temporary in nature. So that's why Krishna says, tolerate them. And misery, we don't have to mention about it. Nobody wants misery. So because of this reason, this happiness and misery in this world, from the viewpoint of real happiness, is ultimately not a natural situation for the living entity. So every human being or every living entities, they try their best to avoid the suffering and they work for the permanent happiness. So permanent happiness and highest happiness is the goal of human life. So how to get that? First of all, one understand the means by which one can get out of the difficulties. Just like somebody is affected by the infectious disease, first thing what they do is that come out of the disease. Then later they have to think about how to get back to a normal health. So there is in between some period is there. Similarly, that how to come out of these miseries of material life and then lead a blissful, happy life. These are the two things. One is called as Anishta Nivritti. Ishta means desire, Anishta means undesirable. So Anishta Nivritti, removal of the undesired things in our life. Ishta Prapti, and achieving our most desirable thing. This is what the goal of life. So the first thing is that Anishta Nivritti. What is Anishta? What is undesirable? Miseries. Undesirable is sorrow. Undesirable things are the hunger, thirst, etc. and so on. All those things. So these things has to be removed. So while want to avoid the undesirable things, the best way, intelligent way to understand is that the undesirable things are coming from where? What are the cause of? Just like if you go to the doctor, the expert physician finds out what is the cause of the disease and what is the nature of the disease, and then he also sees how to the way to get out of the diseased condition. So they always understand what is the cause. Any crime takes place in the world also, they find out what is the cause, who did it, they go to the root. Similarly, misery we understand. The very fact that misery is there, very fact that the jiva wants to get out of the miserable condition, then the intelligent jiva should know, understand that what are the miseries, number one. Number two, what are the cause of my suffering? So these two things they should understand. So what is misery? The Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyati Dukha Doshanu Darshanam. So many miseries are there, even if you don't get a mobile phone. For the kids, if the parents doesn't give their mobile phone, then that is a misery for them. One day I cannot live without that. Or if you don't get our favorite food, favorite dress, so many miseries are there. There is no dearth of miseries. But the Shastra is telling us the primary misery, what it is called, Janma Mrityu Jara. One devotee put in a very succinct way that body. This body means birth, old age, disease, BODY, Yamaraj. So these are the four miseries of the jivas. Now, the misery is, we understand what is a misery, but then what is the cause of this misery? So why this is called miserable thing? Nobody wants to take birth again and again. Even though birth is not understood as misery so easily, everybody celebrates birthday. But when a child comes out of the womb, it comes crying out. So that itself understandable that birth is a miserable both for the child and for mother as well. So that is a misery, and then old age, disease, and death. Nobody wants to die. So these are all the miseries we are having. And these miseries, if we analyze, we understand these miseries are all happening in pursuance of our body and our subtle and gross world. So the living entity, the Atma, we are all experiencing the misery through this body. And also the happiness are also experiencing through this body. So who is experiencing the happiness and distress? Not exactly the body. We experience the misery and happiness. The misery and happiness experienced by all of us. And who are we? We are different from the body. And through the medium of body, we are experiencing joy. Through the medium of body, we are experiencing misery also. So in the present verse of the Bhagavatam, those signs of this body has been explained, and the cause of the misery is explained, and what exactly the misery is explained. And later verses, the solution is also Srimad Bhagavatam gives. So if we go back to the translation of the word, that the subtle body is endowed with 16 parts. 5 knowledge acquiring senses, 5 working senses, 5 objects of sense gratification and the mind. So now, how we experience any happiness in our life? Through our senses. So we have got 5 knowledge acquiring senses. What are the 5 knowledge acquiring senses? Through eyes, nose, tongue, ears, and skin. These are the 5 knowledge acquiring senses, through which we are acquiring a particular knowledge, and that gives us happiness. Knowledge means any experience is called as knowledge here. So through the eye, what we experience beautiful color, beautiful scenes, beautiful picture, beautiful objects. So by saying particular thing, we experience, but that knowledge, that understanding, that experience gives us happiness. And through the ears, if we hear beautiful music, we become happy and experiencing happiness. Through our tongue, when we experience nice footsteps, we get happiness. So through the tongue, we acquire knowledge as well as our experiences, which in turn gives us happiness. At the same time, we don't not only experience pleasure through the senses, we also experience misery also through the senses, isn't it? So when we, instead of biting a piece of sweet, gulab jamun or Mysore pak, if we bite our tongue with the teeth, we experience misery also. So when you compare misery and the happiness of eating a sweet, it appears that the misery is more, and more greater in intensity than the happiness. So that the senses are simultaneously is giving us happiness and also giving us misery. They become the instrument by which we are experiencing happiness and misery. And what else we have got? We have got 5 working senses. And what are the 5 working senses? 2 hands, 2 legs, and our mouth, which speaks, and evacuating organ. So these are the 5 working senses. So these working senses work and they support the knowledge acquiring sense. So through this, we are enjoying happiness and misery. By the way, these 2 are not exactly sufficient. These 2 are definitely instruments. Instrument means what? Through which we are understanding things. The 5 knowledge acquiring senses are the instrument through which we are realizing, experiencing, and understanding. And through that, we get happiness and misery. So the happiness and misery is experienced by the Jivatma, by us, through the medium of these senses, we saw. But by the way, apart from these 2 sets of senses, we have got one more thing that is called as mind. If we go back to the translation, 5 knowledge acquiring senses, the 5 working senses, and the mind. I'll come back to object of sense gratification and the mind. So what the mind does, the mind is again a subtle medium. So first we have got gross medium and then subtle medium. Medium means instruments, we can say. So through the instrument called tongue, the jiva is experiencing the taste, and by the experiencing of taste, he becomes happy. But in between, what the mind does, the mind is also playing in between and acting as an instrument. So how it does, when the tongue touches a laddu, Mysore pak, or a rasgulla, sweet, what happened? The mind also touches the tongue. Technically speaking, the first, the eatable item touches the tongue. Immediately we cannot experience pleasure. The mind has to be activated next. So then the mind touches the tongue, and the mind in turn touches the Atma. This is the way how things work. So Indriyam arthena samvijyate Indriyam Manasa, Manasa Atmanam. This in this way, this particular krama or particular way things works. So that's why if the mind is not working, then we can't enjoy things. So the mind has to it takes a major role. That's why we see sometimes we might be watching some interesting video or something, but at that time if somebody walks nearby, we may not be able to recognize them. Why? Because we are completely absorbed in a particular thing. Or somebody in our home, some elderly people keep on telling us, come do this, but you're absorbed in watching. You won't do that, and they become impatient. Say, how many times I have been telling you, you are not responding to my voice. And you'll say, no, I didn't know you spoke anything. I was just watching the movie. Though the ear is operating, ear is open, the sound is going inside, but the person is in it. I didn't know, I didn't realize you are talking to me. Why it is happening? Because mind hits the video games, everybody's experience. So yeah, that is the everyday affair in the home, isn't it? So even though we are shouting at them, the voice is going and touching their ear. Everything is happening, but it's not experienced by them. Why? Because the mind is not there with the ear. There is a mind. The mind is with the eyes now. So the mind is absorbed in the eyes, and the eye is absorbed in the video game, for example. And then through the mind, the Jiva Atma enjoys happiness. And that's why how much ever you shout at the ear, it cannot enter into the mind, and via mind it doesn't register into the self. So this is why the mind is important. Atma manasa samvijyate manaha indriyena indriyam arthena. So this is how the things work. So 3 layers: Atma, then comes mind, on top of the mind is the senses. Now we have to go further one more step. What is another step? If there are senses, then there are corresponding objects for the senses. That is called as object of sense gratification. What is gratification? Means gratification gathering or collecting, we say. So the senses are gathering something. What the eye would gather, eye cannot gather the understanding of fragrance. What the eye can gather, it can only gather, it especially gathers the color of the objects. That's the main function of the eye. Similarly, the nose gathers the understanding of the knowledge of the smell, isn't it? So in this way, these corresponding objects of many senses what we have is called as object of the senses, sense objects, tanmatras we call. So what are those tanmatras? For the eyes, there is form, and for the skin, there is touch, and for the ear, we have got sound, and for the tongue, we have got taste, and for the what we left out, ear, isn't it? Ear sound. No?
Nose.
So this nose, they got gandha, uparasa gandha sparusha we call. So these are the object of the senses. So in this way, now we saw 20 things, isn't it? What are the 20 things? And now we saw 15 things, isn't it? Why? Knowledge occurring sense, through which we gather knowledge. These are the all the 5 knowledge occurring senses we can easily understand by in our face itself. All the 5 are there. So the eyes are there, nose is there, the tongue is there, ear is there, and the skin all over the body, but in the face also there. So with these 5 knowledge acquiring senses, we are acquiring the knowledge of understanding of these 5 sense objects. So these sense objects has to be in touch with the sense object. And then what happens? The sense objects are touching the senses, and the senses in turn are touching the mind. Mind is in contact with the Atma. Then when this contact happens from the sense object to the Atma, then there is happiness. as well as misery takes place. This is how our system works. And in between, if any of the contact is not there, then happiness, misery is not experienced by the Jivatma. So, for example, like you are all looking at the screen, or you are, when you go to the temple, you are looking at Krishna's deity form, or wherever you see so many forms. So when you're looking at these different forms, that all the required things has to be there. For example, if you're reading a book, the eye has to be in touch with the letters printed in the book. If you're looking at the screen, the eye has to be touched with the form in the screen. But if in between some kind of screen, I should not use the word screen, confusing. Some in between some kind of a cloth or something comes, then what happens in the screen and your eyes are being bifurcated by, not bifurcated, it has been in between certain things have come. So what happened, your contact of your eye and the letters are being stopped now. When the context is been stopped, the context has been cut, then you can't, the eye cannot read, neither mind can understand, mind cannot help for the Atma to understand what is written in the book. So the context has to be there. So sometimes the context would be there, but if there is no light, if the light is off, then you can't, even the content could be there, the eye is touching the letters. Eye touching means not that eye has to be followed the letters. From the eye is in between eye and the book, there is no any impediments are there. Then the eye is having contact with the particular book letters. But if the light is not there, if there is no brightness, light is not there, still you can't read. So light has to be there, and the contact has to be there, and the letter has to be there in front of you, the book has to be there. And these three things are, even if one is not there, then things will not work. So eye has to be there, book has to be there, contact between eye and book has to be there, and the light has to be there. And all these three things happens, the next thing is mind has to be in touch with the eyes. Then that particular mind is also in touch with the Atma. Then we read the book, we understand. That's how we experience things. So that's why we see the contact of the senses and sense objects. Similarly, our ears also. The sound has to fall on our ear. Then the ear is gathering, and when the mind is there in the ear, and the mind is being touched with the self. This is how we our everyday day-to-day life works. So with these three sets, 5 plus 5 plus 5, and mind, total becomes 16. So that's why today's verse is telling. And somebody can read the first two lines. I'm just talking.
The subtle body is endowed with 16 parts, the 5 knowledge acquiring senses, the 5 working senses, the 5 object of sense gratification, and the mind.
Thank you. So this is what we discussed now. So sorry. So this is clear, isn't it? Everybody, we can understand. So these are the 16 things is our world, our life. Now, the mind, the 5 objects of sense gratification, 5 working senses, 5 knowledge acquiring senses. These things are simultaneously is a cause of happiness and cause of misery. So we understand what is the misery now. But now again we have to see, question comes, why we have to, we are seeing different kinds of these acquiring senses. If you see a dog, it has a different kind of tongue, dog always keeps its tongue all the time hanging out. And if you see a bird, they have different kind of eyes. So different these senses are there, and by through which they are getting happiness and misery. Now, what is the cause by which we are getting these kinds of bodies? Why it is always different? If there is happiness and misery, why it can be a single model, single thing? Why it is different things are coming? And depends on the model what you are getting, your miseries and happiness also uh, become different. Just like we have mobile phone, the eyes are the same eye, the mind is the same mind, and the person is the same person. Your kids. But if you give them, uh, Android phone, they are happy. But if you give them iPhone, they even become even more happy, isn't it? So same eyes are there, but depends on the model. Happiness and disappointment varies, isn't it? So why similarly, why these senses themselves are different, and depends on that we are getting different happiness and misery. So this body, what we're having here, this model, what we're having, is designed in such a way that it gives happiness and misery in a kind of a balanced way in the earthly planet. So misery is also there, happiness is also there. But if you go to heavenly planets, the happiness there is even more greater than the earthly planet. Trailokya Mapanna, they get Divideva Bhogan. They enjoy great happiness. Roma Paputa Papaha, Divideva Bhogan. They experience a great happiness there. At the same time, if you go to hellish planets, they have a different model body. There they undergo a lot of sufferings. Just like if in the Arab countries and all, they got punishment, 200 lashes and things like that. And 50 lash only a person dies means they cannot do anything further. But in heavenly planets, if there is a punishment, they get a different kind of body. That body sustains all the punishments, at the same time doesn't die. So that kind of sharira, yatana sharira. So that also have all these eyes, nose, everything is there, but the body is different model. So in this way, depends on the body, which is comprised of these 16 parts, we undergo various degrees of misery and happiness. Isn't it? So, and now both this happiness and misery, the Atma, the self, is experiencing in these various planets, or the real problems in life. So now we understood what is a problem. The problem is this body itself is a problem. One time, Srila Prabhupada was walking, and one devotee, other devotees also walked with Srila Prabhupada in the morning walk. So one time, one devotee showed one in the garden, in the park, they were walking. They showed one huge dustbin. So Prabhupada asked, "What is this?" They said, "This is a dustbin." Sometime in the country they put dustbin also very in a stylish way. So, and it's a beautiful garden, nice, beautiful, greenish, nice flowers, trees, and it's like a carpet of like greenish carpet, nicely maintained garden. And Prabhupada and devotees are walking. Sometimes Prabhupada says that these karmis, they're foolish people. They work very hard day and night and created a beautiful garden, but they don't have time to enjoy it. But see, we don't work like them, but we are enjoying. Devotees are doing morning walk. So Prabhupada is saying that we are more intelligent than them. Just like the snake and the rat, it works hard to create snake holes. It's not a snake hole; it's a rat hole. But the snake doesn't make anything. It just comes inside and eats the snake, eats the rat, and stays in the snake hole. So karmis work hard, and the devotees utilize it and enjoy. So like that, this particular body, we see that this is the cause of suffering. So when Prabhupada saw that dustbin, what Prabhupada said, he said, throw the whole material world into the dustbin. So even though the garden was very posh and nice and so sweet and devotees are all enjoying, but Prabhupada certainly reminded them that with all these beautiful arrangements, that this is nothing but it is a fit place to be in the dustbin. So the whole material world, Prabhupada said, put in the dustbin. So what is the message? In the material world, in the world in which we are living, the great scientists and politicians and other leaders of the society, what they're trying to do, they're trying to solve the problem of the material world. They're trying to solve the difficulties in the world we are living in. How they are trying to solve the problem? The disease are there, so let us produce some, many more medical facilities. People are not able to get a comfortable sleep, produce more and more accessories for sleeping. So they are trying their best to solve the problems in the world. But what the Acharya is saying, what the Shastra is saying, that we don't try to solve the problems in the world, rather we say the world itself is a problem. So the scientists are trying to solve the problems in the world, but we say the world itself is a problem. Just like in the restroom, that if how much ever we clean and put all nice fragrance, all those items in the toilet, still it is a toilet. So one comes out of that as soon as possible. So the material world itself is in nature is miserable, and there is no need to solve the problems in the material world. Rather, get out of the restroom and lead a peaceful, natural life in the normal atmosphere. So that is what we understand. So the problem is what? The material body. The material body is comprised of all these things. So now if this is a problem, then as we discussed before, the physician, when he treats the patient, he understands the disease, and also he has to understand what is the cause of the disease. So now what is the cause of this body? So that we have to see. Can we read the next line of the translation where we stopped just now?
This subtle body is an effect of three modes of material nature. It is composed of insurmountable, strong desires, and therefore it causes the living entity to transmit from one body to another in the human life, animal life, and the life as a demigod.
Okay, thank you. So now this material body, so how the material body is coming from? It is coming from the three modes of material nature. So this body is the cause of misery. And the body, how it is formed? The body is formed from the three modes of material nature. But then we discussed why different bodies, different living entities are getting. Those are because we are acquiring different bodies according to our desires, according to our desire and what we deserve. This is the cause of our present material body. Just like a rich man, kids, they may desire iPhone, and they desire iPhone, they get iPhone. But if a poor man, then he may desire iPhone, but he cannot get iPhone. He may have to get some ordinary phone, isn't it? So the desires and our, according to desire, if we have particular qualification, we get our model. What is a model? Particular model of body. So where it goes to our desires and corresponding to a desire, when we work hard. So a poor man can desire a big home, and if he works hard for that, then he fulfills his desire. So in this way, desires are causes for our acquiring particular anything in our life. So desire has to be there. And how the desire is coming? Desire is coming from understanding. Just like if a person doesn't know anything about a mobile phone, if somebody is 80-year-old, 90-year-old men or women in a village, they don't even know what is mobile phone at all. So then if you tell them that you want a mobile phone, they will ask what it is. So only if they understand, then desire comes. When the desire comes, then the endeavor. When the endeavor, you get it. So ultimately, where things goes from backside. So the body with all these 16 parts we saw, the 16 parts are the product of our desire, and the desire we have because of our understanding, and through that understanding, when we work hard, we get these bodies. So this is how things works in this world also. Same thing what Bhagavatam is also talking about. So rich person, somebody having a lot of desire to earn money, he has a understanding through money I can get a lot of happiness. So then he desires them, and not only desires, he works and then he gets it. So understanding, desire, then endeavoring for that, and we get the result. So when we have this body, then also we should understand that this is how we are getting the body. We got the body. That means we had some desires in our mind. Not only we had desire, we worked on the desire, and before the desire, we had some understandings. So because of this reason, we are getting this particular body. Just like how the prisoners enter into the prison, he understand, if I go and rob the bank, I can get money. So he has a knowledge. Then, and after that knowledge that the bank has a money, through the money I can get happiness, then he desires to rob the bank. So first he understands the money is in the bank, and then he develops a desire for the money. Many times we have many understanding, but desire may not be there. Just like a person knows that there is a poison in the snake hood, the snake's mouth, but he doesn't desire that, so he doesn't go for that. But when he says that there is money in the bank, then he desires that. So all understanding doesn't develop into desire. So nevertheless, before desire comes, there has to be understanding. So understanding, that means jnana, knowledge is there. Then after the knowledge comes, then the desire, then corresponding to the desire, one also works. So what the thief does, okay, this bank has a lot of money, so I understand this bank is a place where people keep their jewelry and money and all those things. Let me rob this bank. So the knowledge leads to desire, desire leads to endeavor. He goes, works hard and plans, he for one particular night he goes and and enters into the bank, and then according to his activity, what happens, the alarm rings and the police comes and captures him and puts him in the prison. So you get the prison cell. So what happens now, he is in the prison cell, and he is undergoing a difficult time there, he is suffering there. So the suffering is because of being in the prison cell. The being in the prison cell is because of a particular activity, and the particular what is the activity, robbing the bank, and the particular activity is because of his desire, and the particular desire is coming from his understandings. So in this way, that understanding leads to particular misery here. Similarly, happiness also. So Jiva understands that we eating healthy food is good for me. So he understands that vegetarian food is good for me. So they get the knowledge. Then he gets endeavors to get, and he desires to eat that. Then he endeavors. Then he eats prasadam. Then he becomes happy. So happiness. So happiness and misery is this particular pathway. It goes back. So in this way, everything is based on our understanding and desire. That's why Shastra called. Now we are talking about misery, isn't it? Misery. So the misery is caused by avidya. What the Shastra says, vidya means knowledge. Avidya means improper knowledge, improper understanding. So because of this improper understanding, avidya, which causes ignorance, which causes wrong desires, which causes wrong endeavor, which causes the resultant effect of misery. So this is how we came to this particular jail. What is a jail? The jail of various varieties of jail we have got. The government may have some 3 levels of cells prison, isn't it? First class, second class, third class, whatever. rigorous imprisonment like that. But the jiva can get 8,64,000 varieties of uh, uh, cells or different kinds of prison they can undergo. So these particular body, the translation says that four in general: human life, animal life, and demigod. So three they are talking about. So when these particular prisons are when we got, we experience various kinds of difficulties. So what are the difficulties? The translate. Can we read the next line after that? Anybody, please?
When the living entity gets the body of a demigod, he is certainly very jubilant. When he gets a human body, he is always in lamentation. And when he gets the body of an animal, he is always afraid. In all conditions, however, he is actually miserable. His miserable condition is called samsriti or transmigration in material life.
So now how things works. So when we get these various kinds of body, the particular way we discuss now, then we get various kinds of these bodies, which are nothing but different kinds of prison cells. So a demigod means he's very happy, but happiness is short-lived. So he's apparently very happy as a demigod. When the human body, he gets he is lamenting always. I want more, I want more, I want more. So lamentation. An animal body, it is more often fearful. Even if a lion comes now, if it attacks particular animal, it is afraid that his prey must be stolen by somebody else. Even a tiger or if you see deer, when you're drinking water, it always looks left and right. Somebody is going to attack me or not. So full life of fear. The birds, always they are watching here and there. Who is going to attack me? If you give a monkey, also they are fearful. So the animal condition of life is mostly fear. And the human beings, they are not so much in fear. We don't have a fear that when you're eating prasadam or food, somebody is going to snatch away. Because sometimes devotees get transcendental fear, who is going to take mahaprasad from my plate, mahaprasad. But generally it doesn't happen. So while eating, we are not very much afraid or fearful. So, but there is lamentation. I got some prasadam. What about can I get more gulab jamuns or rasgullas or more samosas? So that kind of little lamentation is there, especially on Ekadashi day when we are hearing such, you know, technical boring class. So, okay, when it is going to end, or when I'm going, Dwadashi going to come, or when Prasadam is going to serve, some lamentation is there, is fine. Prasadam lamentation is good. But generally, people get all various kinds of lamentation, hankering and lamentation. This is the nature of the human birth. And the demigods, they are kind of apparently satisfied because they are in Sattva-guna, but their satisfaction is short-lived. Anytime asuras can come attack, they are some kind of fear, not like human beings or animals. So in this way, these are the problems. So now we understood what is a problem, what is a root cause of the problem. So then we discuss about the solution for solving the problem. Let me see what is the time now. Mataji, Prabhuji, who can tell me that how long is this program?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. As you like, Prabhu. It's you can go ahead.
Hare Krishna. We're all eager to hear.
Yes,
So,
Prabhu, it's amazing.
I'm just talking some ABCD basic things.
We are ignorant,
So,
Prabhu. So ABCD is good for us.
Hare Krishna. So this is the cause of the problem. So what is the solution the Bhagavatam gives? The purport, if you read Prabhupada's purport. So this struggle is called samshriti, the material conditional life. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the force of material nature is insurmountably strong. So if we say, okay, the problem I understand, so can I just come out of the problem? If you understand that this particular food is creating trouble for me, I can just avoid the food, So if you understand the problem, if you go to the physician, he tells avoid this, you can easily avoid it and come out. But this particular problem which we are talking about, which is originally caused by the Avidya, that it is not easily to be, it is not, we cannot avoid it. It's very difficult to avoid. So that particular struggle to avoid this problem is called as samsriti, material conditional life. So the Gita says, Krishna says, this particular Maya, the cause of suffering, this is Duratyaya, very difficult to cross over. Why? This Maya is my Maya, Mama Maya. It's not, this jail is not by any ordinary king or government, it's my jail. And Daivi Yesha, this Maya, Yesha Maya is Daivi, it's very divine. So why Krishna is calling this as divine? Daivi, why it's calling it Daivi? Because it is created by Krishna and it works very wonderfully. So the mobile phone is there, and even though mobile phone is not heavy thing, it's like a chain connected to our neck or something, but still a person cannot keep the mobile phone down. So that way it works hard, and he thinks that he is operating the mobile phone, but the mobile phone is operating him, isn't it? So like that it is looks like easy. Any moment I can keep it down, but I can't keep it down. Why? That I can, even if I want to keep it down, I can't keep it down. It is captures me. So it looks like easy, but it is not easy. That's like mamaya duratyaya. So then what is the solution for that? Srila Prabhupada mercifully gives a solution. So the material nature, somebody can read better? I can give a break for all of you hearing my own voice. The next line of the purport, material nature.
Material nature harasses the living entity in different bodies, but if the living entity surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he becomes free from this entanglement as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Mameva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. Thus his life becomes successful.
Fantastic. So now solution Srila Prabhupada gives, the Bhagavatam gives. So what is the solution? That this material nature, first of all, harasses the living entity in different bodies. As we discussed before, that this body itself is an external fitting to the Jivatma. So why this body have given to him? Why this misery producing body is awarded to him? Because of his avidya, that I want to enjoy myself independent of Krishna. That particular misunderstanding, it causes him to go through this particular cycle of getting this particular body, and the cycle continues again and again and again and again. So this cycle is very difficult to be broken. Only way it can be broken is that when we surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why Krishna? Because Mama Maya, Krishna says, this Maya is mine. Mamevaye prapatyante mayam etam tarantite. Taranti, tarana means swimming, swim across. So if these jivas were suffering in this world, if they surrender unto me, Mamevaye prapatyante. Eva refers to certainly, there is no other choice for you, no other way for you. Can I go somewhere? Can I do something? Can I really endeavor? How much ever we endeavor, you can't do anything about it. Just like in the spider web, if some insects falls, sometimes they try their best to escape. The more they try, they become more and more entangled, isn't it? So in this way, the more the jiva tries to become happy, tries to solve the problems, they get more and more caught. But if they give up their endeavor and surrenders to Krishna, Mameve prapatyante mayametam tarantite, thus his lives become successful. So in this one verse of the Bhagavatam, and in this 5-line purport of Srila Prabhupada, that we understand what is a problem and what is a cause of the problem and what is a solution for the problem, in essence. So that is what the greatness of Srimad Bhagavatam and Srila Prabhupada's purpose. So in elaborating the solution part, many times when the physician goes, he takes lot of work to understand the problems, understand the cause of the problem. Sometimes solution becomes very simple and very not so difficult. But depends on the difficulties, the application of the solution that the patient has to undergo himself. So what is the application of what is the problem we saw? What is the solution we saw? That one should surrender unto Krishna. Mameve prapatyante. Then what kind of surrender? What kind of surrender we should do? What is the nature of the surrender? That also Shastra says. So one should surrender oneself to Krishna without having any kind of prejudice, without having any kind of fear. Bhayam ditya abhiniveshadasyat. So without having any doubt on Krishna, one should surrender one life to Krishna. So, so how to surrender to Krishna is what the acharyas are talking about. Srimad Bhagavatam is talking, and Krishna also comes and shows us. So how he shows that he say, I come myself into the material world in various incarnation. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tektva adeham punarjanma naiti mameti Arjuna. Krishna himself comes and he shows to the jivas, like he advertises to jivas. You see, when I come, I got my own people, and you see your own people who is having happy life. So Krishna comes and Vrindavan, he performs pastime. Vrindavan Vrajabasis are the cowherd boys, are the cows are there, and the calves are there. All the trees and plants, all living entities, and Krishna side is also there. And in Kamsa side also many people are there. So then Krishna is showing through his activity that these are all my people and these are all the demons people. The demons on one side, I am on the other side. So who is having everlasting happiness? Who is having a happy life? Krishna is showing. So Ram came as a son of Dasharath Maharaj. Ram had millions and millions of monkey soldiers with him. And other side, Ravana was there with his mighty army and even more millions and millions of demonic associates. For the end, what happens? All the demons were killed, and all the Ram's devotees are all, no harm happened to them. They're all happy, went back to Ayodhya. At the end of Ram's incarnation, they all went back to the spiritual world. So in this way, Krishna comes down and he shows to the suffering jivas that you say, when you come to me, what happens? And when you go to them, when you be with them, what happens to you? And you understand this both and you decide for yourself. So this way, Krishna shows us in his incarnations. And by showing this, he removes the fear. So, and what is the fear the jiva has? But if I surrender to Krishna, will my independence will be taken away? Will I lose my power of discrimination? These are the fear the jiva has. But Krishna shows through his example that you don't understand that you surrendering to me and you are being a subservient and slave of different bosses in your life. They are not the same. Everybody in this life are not independent. We are all always subservient to somebody from our childhood till we grow up. But when we surrender to Krishna, that surrender is not same like the way we surrender to others. In the school, we surrender to the teachers, parents. We have to wear the same dress, what they are telling, uniform. You put shoe on. The child doesn't know why they should put the shoe on. So every climate, we are just doing the same thing. In the Britishers, they are in a cold climate that wear shoes. But the same colonial, hangouts in India, even the summer in the hot village also, education means one should wear shoes and ties. They don't understand why. So in this way, we are surrendering foolishly, and we are suffering, and all these things are always coming whether we know it or not. But when the jiva says they have to surrender to Krishna, then also they get the fear. Okay, am I going to be cheated like this? Am I going to be harassed like this? But Krishna shows that when devotees surrender into me, that is not slavery. That is actually real independence. Jivera Surupa hai, Krishna Nitya Das. Being Nitya Das of Krishna is always a natural state of the jivas. We always enjoy happiness. So how Krishna says that Arjuna surrendered into me, but actually I become the chariot driver of Arjuna. And Yashoda is my mother, Nanda Maharaj is my father. But actually, by being my, even though I am the Supreme Lord, I become son of my parents, and by me they are enjoying. So in this way, Krishna gives assurance that when you come to me, that don't compare being my devotee and with your experience of being in the material world, trying to serve other your so-called masters and getting frustrated and miserable. If you become my devotee, you can actually enjoy more than me, more than myself. That's what Krishna says. That when Krishna says that his devotees are more happy in serving him, he was amazed that how they can become more happy than myself. I am the Ishvara, one who accepts service, one who receives service from my devotee. Krishna is called as Sheshi, one who accepts service. All the devotees call as Shesha, one who gives service to Krishna. And the best of the person who can give service is called Ananta Shesha, who is a Ananta snake of Krishna. So we are all servant by nature, and Krishna is a master who accepts service. But when happiness comes, Krishna says that my servants are becoming more happier than myself. That is the whole understanding why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. So in this way, Krishna removes the fear of our serving, and the service means that it creates any trouble for us by his own activities. In fact, sometimes devotees may also wonder that even for devotees difficulties comes. uh, Brajavasis, they have a lot of difficulties. All the devotees, Pandavas, had a lot of difficulties. Srila Prabhupada, sometimes he tells anecdote. And Narada Muni jokingly told Krishna in a sarcastic way. So Krishna, Pandavas are your devotees, and because being your devotees, now they not only they lost their kingdom, they also lost their free movement in the world. They have to be incognito. So being your devotee, they are having a great time. So Narada Muni sarcastically rebuked Krishna. So it looks like devotees are suffering more sometime in devotional service. But actually speaking, that suffering is actually it's not suffering. Why? Pandavas, in spite of all their miseries and difficulties, they never gave up Krishna. So Krishna is so amazing that in spite of getting difficulties, they are not able to give up Krishna, not a one time. Rather, Kunti Maharani prays, what she prays, that Vipata Shantuta Shashvat Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru, that you give me more and more miseries, Krishna. Apunat Bhava Darshanam, that I want to suffer more and more, so that I won't forget you, Krishna. So that means something is special in Krishna, that devotees never want to give up his company in spite of miseries. So so-called miseries. So how Krishna does that? He does all the activities to increase devotees' attachment towards him, in turn give them ultimate happiness. Just like the parents, they play with the child. Sometimes they take the child in their hand, and to give happiness to the child, the father or mother, they throw the child in the air to little height, and the child goes up, and when going up, it is very happy, and it goes to the peak of the height. Then some kind of fear comes into the child, it cries. Then again, father held the child back in the hand, it smiles. So just like the father tosses the child up and down and gives happiness for the child, in between, the child also gets some kind of excitement or fear that what will happen to me. But when he lands in the father's arm, it becomes more happy. That's how the child creates happiness. So like that, Krishna is putting the devotees in such kind of condition, or like creates more excitement and more realization, and love for Krishna is being experienced by the devotees. And Draupadi underwent so many difficulties, and when she saw that Krishna is all throughout all her difficulties, her attachment to Krishna increases, and they become even more attached to Krishna, and the happiness becomes more and more. And the Brajabasis, they are undergoing a lot of difficulties while serving Krishna. And Vrindavan life is full of anxiety. Which demon is going to come? Trinavarta, we are enjoying the stories now. We are talking about beautiful bhajans we may sing, but Brajabasis, when they underwent all these difficulties, they're actually, it's a great suffering, isn't it? And Govardhan pastime happened, this cold, the rain is heavy rainfall, on top of that cold wind. Generally in rainy season, wind doesn't blow. Wind comes in the winter season, in the later season. So then the winter season, the wind comes, it become more unbearable. So here, rainy season, winter season, and the blowing of air, both simultaneously happen in Govardhan Leela. And the devotees of Krishna, they are all shivering out of cold, the downpour. So that kind of difficulties they underwent, but what is the result of that? During the difficulty, they surrendered to Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Mahabaho. They cried to Krishna, ran towards Krishna. The calves, the cows, and the devotees, coward boy, coward man, coward girls, the gopas, everybody ran towards Krishna for shelter. And then Krishna lifted Govardhan. I mean, Krishna lifted Govardhan, and for 7 days and 7 nights, they get such a constant association of Krishna. The happiness what they experience is beyond our imagination. So that happiness is, when you compare to the happiness, this misery becomes like a they sing about these miseries. Next day, what happened in Nanda Maharaj or Yashoda Maya, when Nanda Maharaj herds the cows and Yashoda Maya churns butter, she would sing about these pastimes, which apparently misery in the previous time. Also, like this, Indra poured rain and we ran to Krishna. Krishna lifted Govardhan. They sing these things, but during that time, it is unsurmountable difficulty they undergo. So this way, Krishna always protects devotees, and he personally takes care of them. Ananya chintayanto mam yejana paryupashate tesham nityabhayuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. So this is what Krishna says in the Gita. So Krishna says, Ananya chintayanto mam. Any devotee who surrenders unto me without any other shelter. So when Krishna says when Krishna gives a solution, mameve prapatyante, they want to surrender into him. That surrender should be of full faith and without any other shelter. If we put one feet in the ground and another feet in the boat, so if the boat sinks, my feet is in the ground. That is not the way. Either you be in the boat with full shelter or be in the land. So when the shelter of Krishna should be ananya. Anya means a different shelter, different thoughts, different desire, different enjoyment. What is different? Different from Krishna. My enjoyment is different than Krishna. Different from Krishna. My enjoyment is other than Krishna. My desire is other than Krishna. My desire is my shelter is other than Krishna. It's not. It shouldn't be like that. So anya shelter, anya desire, anya enjoyment shouldn't be there. But the opposite to anya, what is called opposite to anya is ananya. So when you put an to ananya, it become opposite. Just like when you say employment, in order to make it opposite, we add a word called un. So employment, unemployment. Like that, if you put anya, in order to make it opposite, we add one more an. So anya, ananya. When you add ananya, that means I have no other shelter. I don't have anya shelter, other shelter. So that ananya chetas, ananya chinta, ananya chintayanto mam. So if anybody surrenders to me, thinks of me, only me, not anyone else, not any other thoughts. Ananya Gati, I am the only shelter. Anya Gati is not there. Ananya Gati. So anybody who understands me as the only shelter, like Brajabasis, even though Indra was giving difficulty, they didn't go to Indra. Please forgive us. They went to Krishna. So that kind of Ananya Gati, Ananya Chinta, if you have that, what Krishna says, Ananya Chintayanto Mam, Yejana Paryupasate. Such great souls who worships me, Paryupasate. Upasana means worshipping Krishna. Such great soul, what I am doing? Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam. What the desire they have got? Nitya Abhiyukta. Yukta means joining or meeting or in association. They always want to have my association constantly. Nitya abhiyukta. They want to, yoga means joins, to unite, isn't it? Prabhupada many times says. So those devotees who have a desire to be Nitya Abhiyukta, they want to be very close to me. What I do? Yoga Kshemam Mahamyaham. I am offering them yoga and Kshema. What is yoga means? I offer them that association. What association? Gopis and Gopas, they wanted what desire they had. Gopas have a difficulty when Krishna goes to be with the Gopis in the night, they are missing the Krishna's association, the cowherd boys. And when Krishna goes to tend the cows in the daytime, Gopis are feeling that we are missing Krishna. So they always wanted constantly be with Krishna. So then Krishna fulfilled their desire by lifting Govardhan for that apparent Indra's reign and so on. So in this way, Nitya Abhiyuktanam, for that what I do? Yoga Kshema Mahamyam, Mahami. That means that I myself bear, I myself take the burden on myself. I do it personally myself. What Krishna did? Yoga. He lifted the Govardhan hill personally and he gave the yoga, the union of himself with the cowherd boys, cowherd girls, and the elderly gopas, calves, cows, and whoever is there in the whole Brajabhumi, everybody got Krishna's constant association. And that association, yoga, kshema. Kshema means what? Whatever the jivas are desiring, whatever they get, Krishna makes sure that there is no end to that bliss. There is no end to that. There is no stopping of that particular uh, feelings of happiness or feeling whatever they wanted. This always be there. So in this material world, sometimes we get yoga, a lottery ticket or a prize money we may get, but the yoga may be there. But shema means what? That money may not be staying with us. It will just chanchala. She goes away from one packet to another packet. So anything we get in this material world, we may work hard, but it doesn't last. Why? The body itself doesn't long last. So, but Krishna, what promises gives that Tesham Nityabhyuktanam Ananya Chintayanto Mam Yejana Pariyupasate, that those who are without any ulterior motives, without no other shelter, if they come to me, I make sure I do this yoga and shema. Father Krishna endeavors a lot. So Krishna comes to Bali Maharaj to protect him. Krishna gives so much wealth to Sudama. So why he gives so much wealth to Sudama, Brahmana? Because Sudama is thinking that I am the most poverty-stricken devotee. But that particular attitude is creating distance from Krishna and Sudama. So what Krishna did, he personally made sure that Sudama is getting the mercy of Rukmini Devi. All the riches Krishna brought to Sudama. So Krishna gave wealth to Sudama, and to Bali Maharaj, Krishna took away all the wealth. For that he endeavors personally. He doesn't do it through his agents. So how he does personally? As a Vamana, Krishna comes. Even though Krishna is a married person, he's always Nitya Grahastha, as Rukmini Satyabhama in Dwaraka, Srimati Radharani and Gopis in Goloka Vrindavana, and Sri Mahalakshmi Devi in Vaikunta. She always stays in the bosom of Krishna, in the chest of Krishna. Madhava, Krishna is Madhava, husband of Ma. That means Srimati Radharani Lakshmi. So that Madhava, who has all the time keeps Lakshmi Devi in his chest, now he becomes a brahmachari. What he does, he becomes a brahmachari. And who is Krishna? Krishna is the master of Ma, that is Mahalakshmi, who is the proprietor of all the Bhoktaram, Yajna Tapasam, Sarvalokam Maheshwaram. That Krishna, now he becomes a beggar. So begging one who always gives to others. Now he become a beggar. And he goes for begging to Bali Maharaj, please give me 3 pieces of land. And how he goes? He goes as a Vamana dwarf, one who is Sahasra Sherusha Purushaha Sahasrakshas Sahasrapate. So one has thousands of eyes, thousands of head, thousands of feet, lotus feet, and who is Vibhu, one who is expanded into everywhere. That Supreme Lord who is the greatest of all, now he becomes a dwarf Vamana, and he goes for begging. So Krishna, why he does all this activity? He doesn't do through some agent. Personally, he comes. What he does, he become a brahmachari. Small form he takes, and he begs from Bali Maharaj. For what he is begging? And he is begging what? Earth. Who is Earth? Bhuma Devi. Bhuma Devi is actually the wife of Varahadev, Krishna himself. But that Bhuma Devi, that particular earth, 3 pieces of land Krishna is begging from Bali. So imagine how much the Acharyas are glorifying Krishna, that all this activity Krishna is doing, he doesn't bother about his reputation, what will going to happen to him, but he's doing all these activities for what? Just to give favor to Bali. Shukracharya tells, my dear king, do not give your land, do not promise, do not offer the water of promise of giving this land. He is going to take away all your wealth, he take away all your kingdom, and you are going to be in the street. Shukracharya foresees all these things. But Bali says that, my dear Gurudev, when you perform your rituals, that you perform rituals to please Krishna, all the oblations, you are a Brahmana, learned Brahmana, all the oblations you perform in the yajna, Indraya Swaha, Varunaya Swaha, whatever you may say, but all the offerings ultimately goes to Krishna. All the Bhoktaram, Yajna Tapasam, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, you know those things. So when you offer yourself, you don't mind all the results are going to Krishna. But then why you are stopping me in my offering? When you offer, you give to Krishna, and why you are stopping my offering? So Bali Maharaj was not hearing Shukracharya's words. Even though Shukracharya could predict that what is going to happen, but Bali Maharaj went ahead. So what is the result? He was snatched from all the wealth, everything was snatched, and he was practically as a great king of the whole planetary systems. Now he is become uh, a beggar, and who become a person who is not fulfilled his promise. Then Krishna, when Vamanadev, who become Trivikrama, asked for the 3rd step, and Bali says that the proprietor is higher than the property, so I don't want to be called as a person who didn't fulfill the promise. Please take my head. So Bali Maharaj offered his own head, and Krishna placed his lotus feet on the head of Bali Maharaj. So, and then what happened? Krishna, along with Bali Maharaj, he went to the Sutala Loka, and Krishna became the doorkeeper for Bali Maharaj's Sutala planet in his palace. And now Shukracharya, even though he could foresee that Bali is is going to become devoid of all his wealth, but Shukracharya could not foresee that Lord Vamana will be the doorkeeper in Bali Maharaj's palace. That he could not foresee. So that is the beauty of bhakti, surrendering to Krishna, that it gives benefit beyond one's imagination. So that is that the Shukracharya, who is a Kavina Moshana Kavi. Krishna says that he is among the Kavi, he is Ushana Kavi Shukracharya. But even such kind of great jnani, intelligent person who knows the Shastra, who could predict what Vamanadev is going to do, such as that he is going to usurp all your kingdom, all your wealth and property, but he could not foresee that what mercies Bali Maharaj is going to get, that Vamanadev is going to be the doorkeeper in the palace of Bali Maharaj in Sutala planet. In fact, when Bali Maharaj went to Sutala planet, Shukracharya also went with him. So Shukracharya was only foreseeing that his kingdom is going to be usurped, and he is also going to be without any remuneration from his from Bali Maharaj's. But when Vamanadev mercy, when it came, it even went beyond the imagination of Bali and Shukracharya. So that particular solution, what this Bhagavatam offering us, is that Mayam etam tarantite, mamevaye prapatyante. by surrendering to Krishna, apparently it looks like very difficult thing, difficulties the devotees are undergoing, but when you see the results, ultimate the results, that it is beyond our imagination. So the retirement plan or out of the world, literally out of the material world, in the Krishna's lotus feet. So such kind of activity when Krishna does, Krishna says in this verse, Vaham Yaham, that I personally do. Srila Prabhupada quotes a story of Arjuna Charya, that Arjuna Charya was thinking that while reading this verse, he says he thought that Vaham Yaham means Krishna does through his agents, just like in the material world, people are getting the bodies mentioned in this today's verse in the purport, human body, demigod body, or animal body. These things Krishna only awarding, but not directly, through the agents of material nature, through Indra, Chandra, and through Maya. Krishna awards all these results, good results and bad results. But when it comes to devotees, Arjunacharya thought that for devotee also Krishna might be doing through the agents. Why he has to come himself? So he makes a, he corrects that particular Bhagavad Gita and he puts a pen mark. He removes that particular thing with his pen mark. So then some other work came. He went out of the outside of his home. So that time his wife was in the home. Srila Prabhupada beautifully tells the story. So two boys came with lot of ingredients such as rice, dal, and so many other things, and knocked the door of Arjunacharya. His wife opened the door and he saw two beautiful boys came with a lot of things and a lot of weight they carried themselves. And she asked, who you are all, what you have brought? They said, we are student of disciples of Arjunacharya, and he has told us to bring all these things to you. And they kept it down, and this was heavy weight these boys bore themselves. And she said, okay, all of you sit here and take some prasadam, I'll give you. But the boy said, no, Arjunacharya will become very angry. We have to go, otherwise he will punish us. And his mother asked, is it my husband punishes students also? They say, yes, she punishes. And they showed their back. It was a lot of lashes, and it became, she could see all the wounds in their back. And she became quite upset, and she consoled the boys and gave them prasadam, and the boys went away. When Arjunacharya came back, and he sees that his wife is eating prasadam. So in the traditional culture, the ladies in the home, the wife especially, she takes prasadam after the husband takes, or after the children takes. That's the culture. So when the Arjunacharya saw unusually wife is taking prasadam, he was surprised, and he asked, what happened that today is unusual, you are taking prasadam? She becomes angry. Then, Acharya, I never know that you do such things. You're beating your students, beating the kids. And he asked, what you're talking about? He said, now two students came and they gave all these ingredients, all these things, and they showed their back, we have beaten them up. Then Arjuna understood, oh, this is Krishna and Balaram, they have come because I made an offense, that I crashed, I put the marking on these two words, Vaham Yaham, that Krishna doesn't do personally. So that's why, Krishna is angry. So he understood his mistakes. So then what happened? Arjuna understood that Yoga Kshemam Vaham Yaham, that I personally take care of the devotees. So, in this way, this wife taught Arjunacharya that what you made is a improper thing, that you cannot doubt Krishna's words. So, so the culture aspect is one thing, but the real understanding is that Krishna personally does things to us. Sometimes some devotees went to one program in somebody's house in the West. So this devotee invited them for prasadam in their home. And it so happened that there are a lot of cooking arrangements are about to start, and then they got a call that they won't be able to come to prasadam. So then this brahmacharis gives a ring to this Prabhu and says that, sorry, we won't be able to come to your home for prasadam. And he was telling that you should come like that. So they said that no, we'll come later. Then this Prabhu says that at least for my sake, please come, because when you come, I'll get some good prasadam. My wife will cook, So anyway, this is just a cultural aspect. The wife cooks for husband, husband cooks for wife, doesn't matter. When Gaur Kishore Das Babaji was approached, and some devotees, they become great devotees, they're grahasthas, they went and they say that I'm a renounced grahastha who doesn't do just to keep minimal needs and minimal um, arrangements only make for my livelihood. Then Gaur Krishna chastised him that you are not surrendered to Krishna, you depend on your wife for your prasadam. That means you think you are the master, So even in the household life also, everybody may do their own duties, but the understanding conscious attitude is that I am the servant of the other person. So the service may vary according to our nature, according to the need, according to the result what you want to achieve, but the attitude is we are servant of each other. So here, as a service to her husband, this particular day, his wife took prasadam before and made the husband realize that he made a mistake. So Krishna personally does. So then the acharyas raise a claim that will that not be burden to Krishna? When somebody does hard work, will that not disturb their enjoyment? Krishna is Atma Rama. He is always happy, always enjoying. So how when he does things for devotees, will his enjoyment will not be uh, impeded? So then Krishna says, no, Vahamyaham, I pleasurably with a lot of happiness I do this. That's like for the rich person carrying money. It's not a bhara, it's not a weight, but he happily does that. Mother carrying the child is not a bhara for her. A lover carrying a beloved, it is not a weight of misery, but actually it is a pleasure. They do it voluntarily with a lot of happiness. Similarly, Krishna says, I do for my devotees, myself personally. So for that, Krishna does all his activities. But then if the devotees will not be blamed that they're making Krishna to work for them, that Krishna, you serve me. So will that Bali Maharaj won't feel bad that such a Krishna who left Mahalakshmi, who became a brahmachari, who becomes small in size, who is begging alms, will Bali Maharaj will not feel bad for that? Whether is it devotees are making Krishna work? Krishna says, no, I don't, it's not they're asking me, it is my own free will. I take it on my head and I make sure my devotees are getting this yoga and kshema. What is yoga? Association of myself, their real happiness, their freedom of the material body which causes the misery to them. I make sure they are freed from this material body, this material world, and I for that I do all endeavor. I incarnate myself, I carry what they lack, and I wait for them patiently. I give them shastras, I give them human bodies, I give them, I come myself as a spiritual master. I myself appear in front of them as my deity form, and I myself descend in the form of the holy name. And not only that, I always with my devotees in all their difficulties and good times, and I do it very happily without them asking for me. So that is my personality. So that kind of personality is Krishna. So acharyas are giving us the solution. What is the solution? Surrendering to Krishna and offering our uh, surrender unto Krishna solely without depending on any other shelter. Ananya Cheta, Ananya Gati, Ananya Bhogya. What is Bhogya means? Bhogya means object of enjoyment. So in the 16 item we saw that object of sense gratification, 5 object of sense gratification, touch, all these things. So those object of sense gratification for us should be only Krishna and things related with Krishna. So that is called Anya Bhogya. Anya Bhogya means other than Krishna is object of enjoyment. Not that way, but we should make Krishna as our object of enjoyment. Things associated with Krishna as object of enjoyment. That is called as Ananya Bhogya. So what is Krishna means? Krishna, his name, his pastime, his qualities, especially his Mahaprasadam. So that is our object of enjoyment, nothing other than that. And what is our Gati? Krishna's lotus feet is our only shelter, such as Bali Maharaj, he did, Brajabasis did, and all the great devotees of Lord Ram, such as Hanuman and Vibhishana, they did. That I had no other shelter other than your lotus feet. Ananyam Chetas, Ananya Chintayanto. My thoughts is also only Krishna. So we may wonder, but we are not in that stage. Still we have doubts. Still we have other desires to fulfill. Still we have other shelter sometimes we take. But Krishna is very merciful. He is saying that tomorrow's Rupa Goswami's festival. So here Rupa Goswami, Anya Abhilashita Shunyam, he says. Even though we may have desires other than pleasing Krishna, but if we have a desire to have a desire which is only pleasing Krishna, that is also sufficient. If you have you may not exactly able to do it, but if you have a desire that I want to please only Krishna, that is also sufficient. Krishna is happy with that. In due course of time, he himself that remove all the anarthas. So what Krishna does? Tesham evannakampartam aham ajnanajam tamaha. This tamas avidya which is in their heart, I personally remove their avidya. So as we discuss, avidya is a root cause. So Krishna himself clearly removed that avidya, and the avidya is removed. The avidya which causes desires are purified, and the desires are purified. We won't endeavor in order to fulfill our lower desires or improper desires. And when we don't do endeavor, we don't get the resultant body, which is comprised of these 5 working senses, 5 knowledge occurring senses, mind, and so on. So in this way, by surrendering to Krishna, we will be relieved from all these 16 items, and the 17th item, which is the living entity spirit soul, will be liberated from this in this material body, the cage of material body, and take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, which is a real yoga. And that shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, that happiness of performing devotional service, seva, and the result, and that particular union of Krishna's lotus feet is also protected by the Lord Kshema. That what we got by Krishna's grace is always protected by not again returning back to this samsruti, which Prabhupada calls in this purport. And we won't come back to this material. Nachapunaravartate. Krishna protects us and gives us a kshema. What is a kshema? That what yoga Krishna gives, he protects it and never allows us to fall back into the tabernacle of material world. So such Krishna's lotus feet, let us we'll try our best to take shelter, especially in this age of Kali, in a very simple way, that chanting Krishna's holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Prabhupada says that just by chanting Krishna's name and dancing and feasting, we can easily susukam kartum avyayam. One can easily perform these devotions. Yatantascha dridavrataha. That when we endeavor this happy process of devotional service, one can easily get Krishna shelter, which is everlasting. Dridavrataha. Sometimes we do also fasting, such as Prabhupada says in that shlokas purport, such as Janmashtami, which is going to come, and Ekadashi festivals, we may do little fasting, just little fasting. By the time we realize the feasting again will return back. So in this way, by this simple process, but it is a amazing process that Srila Prabhupada's grace and other Vaishnavas mercy, that we are given this great opportunity, that we understand the goal of human life, we understand and the problems of life. Many people in this world, if you see outside, they don't even know what is a problem. They don't even realize they are in the problem, only suffering. But here Prabhupada grace, that Prabhupada speaks in one class that we have got Hare Krishna mantra, we have got prasadam, so chant Hare Krishna and take prasadam. And if you have any doubt, any if you want to understand, we have got books also. We have philosophy. We have got a lot of books. Come and study. But Prabhupada gives that just by chanting Krishna's names and taking prasadam and associating with the devotees, one can achieve perfection. So, and Prabhupada tirelessly also given all these shastras, Srimad Bhagavatam, and explained to us. So, what the process, what we are doing by studying Bhagavatam, our conviction becomes more and more stronger, and we continue the process of this chanting Krishna's names and taking prasadam and associating with the devotees. So it is a beautiful thing that that the devotees taking out their time. I think this program is going on every day. I believe they're taking out time and hearing Bhagavatam and reminding each other that the the process which Bhagavatam and Srila Prabhupada is given us is surely is taking giving us ultimate happiness in our life. So I appreciate all of you. Even though I'm not an expert speaker or entertaining speaker, I've spoken some basic things you all know. Just remind myself. I thank all of you for patiently going through this long session. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Pranam to you. All glories to your Krishna Katha, Prabhu. You can just take us out from this material world right in this Katha, Prabhu. So much love for Krishna, so much love for distributing Krishna Katha. That's amazing, Prabhu. That's amazing. So beautiful class, Prabhu. I loved how you started that protection is only if there is danger. And in fact, we see pretty much every religion of the world, not ISKCON or Hinduism or pretty much every religion says about protection, but protection from what? Nobody knows what is the real danger. Because there is danger, that's why protection is there. So that's so beautiful. Then you beautifully explained, Prabhu, about the 5 knowledge acquiring senses, the working senses, and the objects of senses. That was very, we are Baddha Jivas, Prabhu. So it's better to remind us all the time how it works. So otherwise we'll be deviating from our path. And also, Srila Prabhupada says in one of his purports that the mind, which is the cause of bondage, is also the cause of liberation too. So we should put mind in Krishna's service. Savai mana Krishna padar vindayo. So that will help us. Srila Prabhupada is always helping us. And I love how you narrated the pastimes of Bali Maharaj and Arjuna Charya. That was so beautiful. And you explained about the Ananya Bhakti. Only Ananya, nothing else. It's like I was listening another class, same Ananya Bhakti, and the speaker was explaining about a small child. When small child cries and we give him a sucker or a pacifier, and he is there, and mother doesn't care, okay, he's good, he's everything good. But only when the child cries, that's the time when mother takes him in the lap and he gets the mother milk, right? So same when we cry for Krishna, and that's the time when Krishna will come to us. Otherwise, if we are pacified with these big homes and cars and our jobs and businesses, Krishna will say, okay, he's pacified. He don't need me. So Ananya Bhakti is needed. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you. Such a beautiful class, Prabhu. Such an amazing session, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your services, Prabhu. Prabhu, with your permission, can we go to the question answer session?
Hari Bol, if you're still their devotees are tolerant, you can have.
Yes, Prabhu, I see already a hand raised from our very senior devotee. Balram Prabhu, Balram Prasad Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandvat Pranam. Thank you, Raj Prabhu. Prabhuji, as you were mentioning that this lecture, Raj Prabhu was mentioning that this lecture will just definitely take us to spiritual world. The way you were framing the whole lecture was unbelievable for me. Dandvat Pranam Prabhuji. It was such a beautiful class that you made us realize what we are doing. So such a clarity, I got it. Of course, your class was so much in clarity, but I got that clarification today. What is the meaning of Maya? I would have heard many times of Maya, but I understood today what really Maya is. I was thinking about Prabhupada praying every day. And then somebody asked Prabhupada, what are you praying? What did you pray, or something like that? Prabhupada prayed that I want to be, please save me from Maya, something like that. So I was just wondering all this, putting all dots together, Prabhu, what you said, that the person who is smoking cigarette, he knows that there is there might be a danger after he smokes cigarette, but still he takes and smokes. So I was just bothering, why is it so? Why is it so? Even though people know, they are not doing it, they are not avoiding it. I was not understanding all these days. Now you made very clear that is actually called Maya. That is what is covering. Because we may think that even though you said Avidya, and you also mentioned understanding, but people also have an understanding that if they smoke cigarette, this will happen. But why still they're taking into consideration that I need to smoke? That I did not understand all these days. Now you've made it very, very clear that, yeah, that is called Maya, which is being covered in our consciousness. That is what Krishna's, that's Mama Maya. And you made so clear that yoga and kshema, we are plundering that kshema. We are trying to, even though that treasure is there in the bank, we are trying to get that treasure out of it, thinking that it's my treasure. But the real treasure is Krishna's shelter. So we are not thinking about that treasure where the Krishna shelter is sitting. What a class, my God, Prabhu. Thank you so much. This is really an appreciation class for me. Appreciation from my side, Prabhu. I don't know. I don't know what question should I ask, but you made it so many points clear. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for Raj Prabhu and Balram Prasad Prabhu for encouraging me.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Balaram Prabhuji. Thank you. Beautiful comments. So true. Whatever you said is completely, I agree with that. Beautiful class. Our very senior devotee, His Grace Prahladanand Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Raj Prabhuji. Thank you very much again for allowing me to speak. And my Dhanvan to Nityananda Prabhuji. Excellent class. And without elaborating whatever Balaram Prabhu has already, appreciated the contents and everything. My question is, Bhagavan Krishna says, Va vimo purusho loke kshara ksharuchyate. I'm a kshara jeev. We are in the material world. And Bhagavan Krishna also says, Ichha dve samuthena dvandva mohena bharata. So I always wondered, why was I so fool to make such a decision? Did I have knowledge of material world that I desired that I should go and work, enjoy separately, independent of Lord Krishna? Did I have that knowledge as a spiritual soul that, I made this mistake of coming to this world? This always bothers me, why did I make such a foolish thing? So is there any kind of sastric enlightenment on that? That's what I wanted. Thank you very much. The sound.
Well, sometimes you are very nice devotee that you are. Am I audible? Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
So you are senior and nice devotee that you have so much affection for Krishna, and you are feeling bad. Why this particular Avidya came to me?
Yes.
But sometimes we don't even bother about it. Life is going well like that, we think. So inspiring from you that for serious devotee who is actually thinking about why I'm not with Krishna, like that. It's great. According from the Shastra, the Acharya's point of view, this Avidya, what caused us forgetting Krishna, they say that it is time immemorial. So that is that nobody can trace back how long this have been there. But one thing is nice that this samsara, what this shloka, today's Bhagavatam shloka calls as samsriti, it has a beginning. It has a beginning. It has a beginning, but at this it doesn't have any beginning. It doesn't have any beginning. We don't even know when it started. But sometimes we are afraid that if something doesn't have any beginning, then when it is going to end? You see? So anything which doesn't have a beginning, generally it doesn't end. For example, that Krishna doesn't have any beginning. He is always existing. So because he doesn't have a beginning, there is no end to Krishna. Even the demons can try, but Krishna always there. Hiranyakashipu will come and go, Ravana will come and go, but Krishna is there as Krishna all the time. Why? Because he is beginningless. So Krishna is beginningless, and because he is beginningless, there is no end to Krishna. But the samsara, the samsriti, or our being in the material world, it doesn't have any beginning, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't have an end. So Krishna is beginningless. Similarly, this Maya is also, samsara is also beginningless. But what is the difference is that beginningless Krishna doesn't have end, but its beginningless samsara does have an end. So when it ends, as soon as one becomes devotee of Krishna, it ends. So that is our happiness for us. So anyway, this is going to end. So why we to worry about when it began? So, so that is what the understanding goes. So at the same time, our association of Krishna is now is starting now. I mean, like when we become devotee, Krishna takes us to the spiritual world. So anything which has a beginning in this world, we see there is an end for that, isn't it? So we have a house which has a beginning, it ends. Okay, house sometimes stays for centuries, but we have a mobile phone, for example, all the time we are using this. It is a beginning, but 3 years, 4 years, throw it away. Next, it hangs, So anything which has a beginning, which is end in this world, we see. But the association of Krishna, our reaching to the spiritual world has a beginning now. It just started now. We got it. Yoga, we got it. But it doesn't end at all. That is a great relief for us. Why? Krishna is merciful. Nachapuna Ravartade. There is no coming again back to the material world. Mameve prapatyante maya metantarantite janna karma cha me divyam evam yevitat tektva deha punarjanma naiti mameti surjuna. He doesn't naeti. He doesn't return back to the material world. So the ascending to the spiritual world is a beginning, but doesn't end. The samsara is beginningless, but does have an end. So that is what is giving great happiness. So in this way, that even though the endless samsara, the beginningless samsara has an end, so that gives us happiness and great relief. That and the beginning of spiritual, going to the spiritual world, even it began, but it doesn't have an end. So that is understanding.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for enlightening us. I will not be any more fools with your association. Again, thank you very much. Danvat Prabhu.
Please bestow us your intelligence to us also. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prahladanand Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Such a beautiful answer. Certainly, we are actually fortunate that we got Srila Prabhupada and we now understand what is our goal, and that is Krishna Prema, and hopefully we'll get that. Hopefully in this lifetime. Never want to come back in this life.
I liked your comment about your husbands cooking at home. And those husbands are colloquially now they are called housebounds instead of husbands. Housebound. Thank you very much. Very good.
You added more hasya to my hasya rasa.
Especially during a lockdown, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very good. Hare Krishna, Jyoti Mataji, Dano Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Danvat Pranam Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Danvat Pranam Prabhuji. My question is, you have mentioned about the aparadha that was done and the pastime that you have taught us today. It was very new to me, and I'm really grateful for that. I'm really grateful for the session altogether. It was really transcendental. But what about the aparadhas that we do? I mean, how it is encountered? Because if a devotee is practicing for a life, and then he ends up and he doesn't go to the abode because of some reasons, and then he come back to the new life. So how that the new life is because of aparadhas, right? If the naam was pure, then there was no question. But he come back. In that case, what is the situation? Means what kind of severity is there in that aparadhas? How that one has to look after that?
Well, one should avoid carefully as much as possible the aparadhas, but the Shastras say that in the beginning stage of our bhakti, we are certainly committing aparadh, you know. So one shouldn't be in a utopian world that we are without any fault. So we do nama aparadha, we do seva aparadha, we do many aparadhas in various services, seva aparadha, all these things are there. We are not free from aparadha. But that aparadha stage, when you perform bhakti, it gradually increases to become offenseless, and then it will lead towards the positive. From the neutral stage of offenseless, it will take us to the uh, uh, prema or love for Krishna, pure. So offensive stage, offenseless stage, and pure stage. These are the three stages. So at the beginning we are in the offensive stage, but then gradually we can go to the offenseless stage. But everything has to start with this stage only. So Krishna understand those things. When we don't do it intentionally, when we are trying our best to avoid it, but still it happens, that's fine. Krishna takes care of that, and we should be feeling like this. We are story which we are going to study in this chapter in this canto is Ajamila pastime, where Krishna is personally, sending his own associates, and Krishna is personally through his name he came to rescue Ajamila. For what he came? Even though Ajamil performed offenses, heinous crime of giving so much trouble to his own chaste wife, own parents, so much offenses he performed. But even though he not rectified his offense, he chanted Krishna's Narayan's name, not even directly addressing to him, but still Krishna came to his rescue through the Vishnu Dutas. So similarly, we may not become very much kind of mental about or very much so much of worried about our offenses, in the sense that that we shouldn't have a utopian idea that I will be free from offense at this stage, but we should try our best to avoid cautiously. We should do all our effort to avoid it. But in spite of that, it happens. Then many times we have to try to learn the art of forgiving ourselves also. Just like we should learn how to forgive others, we should also learn to forgive ourselves. Okay, today I could not chant the way I wanted. Today I could not cook the way I wanted prasadam. Okay, we have to pat ourselves on our back and go ahead more with the more nice seva. So in bhakti, the prayachita, in other places when you do mistake, the mistake is different, prayachita is different. Prayachita means atonement. But in bhakti, if somebody killed a brahmana, means the atonement is donating the cow, or something else will be their atonement. Or somebody made some sinful activity of stealing something, then he has to donate cows or something like that. It's some different, sin is different, atonement is different. But in our stage, when you perform mistakes in bhakti, that atonement is nothing but doing the same. Like we chant, we make aparadh in holy name, the atonement is nothing but chant in more holy name. When you make aparadh in doing service to Krishna's deity form, the atonement is that chant holy name and perform more seva. So in this way, one should sometimes what we think is that whatever mistakes we do, we want to avoid that activity and go to something else. So if we do mistake in using electric cooker, we want to throw it away and go into some other cooker, I mean other gas stove, like anything, So we don't want to use the same thing. We don't want to use the same process. We are not good in some particular activity. We want to avoid it and go to some other thing. But here, that in the bhakti, even if you don't perform things properly, the solution is that do the same thing again with more better endeavor. So holy name, chanting Krishna's name, deity worship, serving devotees, these are the things we are going to do. There's no change in it. But when you do it offensively, again do the same thing, so that will continue. It will automatically cure us. Just like when you fall in the earth, if some stones, we just kick the stone and it fell down in the earth means. So when you're getting up again, we are taking shelter of the same earth to get up. So
Yeah.
similarly, the bhakti itself will bring us again, rise us back from the offenses what you do in the bhakti devotion service. So we don't have to
Mm.
worry so much about it and just go ahead. Only worry what should we be doing is that unnecessarily, intentionally, and carelessly doing Vaishnava aparadh. That we should be very careful of. So when we avoid these things, definitely, Krishna, as Prabhupada says in Nectar of Instruction, this path of devotion service is such that it automatically drags a person to the perfection of spiritual life. So just continuing chanting holy name, associating with devotees, reading Bhagavatam, it just drags us without our knowledge also. So that is understood. I don't know, am I addressing your question properly? But this is what
Yeah, no, the thing is that what we are discussing to this extent, maybe I'm not qualified, but this is a gross level. The subtle level goes like when we come to the association, because there is a heart to heart connection, and then the communication starts. When the communication starts, the bonding is there, and when the bonding starts, there will be a discussion. So and the apradas means, for my understanding, what it goes is the aprada happens effortlessly when we are talking, when we are not attentive. By God's grace, somehow I have little bit attentiveness in me. I have not given a response, but I came to know that this is happening frequently because of the friendship or the bonding that we have, being with the seniors or the juniors, or in whatever level the communication goes. So the apradas are not exactly in the physical form. They are happening at very subtle form in the communication, and especially means talking without understanding, or without the intensity or the severity of the outcome. So in that case, what I'm supposed to do? Am I supposed to stop that communication, or just hear, or the hearing itself is an offense, or shall I give the mm, way to myself to avoid that particular person or the situation? Because this is not going to happen every day. One or the other offense will be happening through communication itself. So what is the solution on this?
well, regarding devotees, associating with them, one great devotee said that the association of the devotees is the only cause by which we are advancing in spiritual life. At the same time, association of devotees can also, if we don't do it carefully, it will also be cause of the major downfall. So two things are there. So association of the devotee is also an art. Rupa Goswami in Nectar of Instruction speaks about those things, how a devotee should associate with the various levels of devotees. So one should cultivate, this art of cultivation, So one should cultivate relationship with the devotees, association of devotees. And association of devotees, friendship with the devotees should be centered around Krishna and Krishna Seva. Sometimes devotees may think that association and friendship means uh, just
Mixing.
talking or doing things, but if we then the beginning, it's also okay, whatever way we are friends with each other is fine, but the substantial friendship, substantial relationship can happen, deep relationship can happen in serving Krishna or serving the mission of Srila Prabhupada, mission of our spiritual master, in relation with Krishna. Then it becomes more deeper and deeper and deeper. So one should look forward to that and do in that way. And as far as when you deal with the devotees, when things which you don't like, things happens, one should try your best to tolerate and have some discretion. And if it is in not helping either that person or oneself in being Krishna conscious, one should carefully avoid also. But of course, we should take guidance from the devotees whom we are in touch with, who knows about us and others and the real exact situation, and take personal guidance. So what I spoke is in principle, but to know about you and the exact issue, what you're talking about, exact situation, they can able to help personally, and guide things.
So we have to keep the Krishna, the service and the Krishna consciousness in the center, whatever may be the situation, and act as per that. And we are not supposed to give any inputs other than that.
Take guidance from the concerned those who know us well, and those whom we are trust with, and who knows the situation well. That's it. Yes.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you
Hare
so much. Dandavat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, as Prabhuji said, it seems like you have a personal question, so you can certainly contact Prabhuji. We can give you the contact of Prabhuji by Shamagori Mataji, and then you can certainly ask from Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhu. That was a very beautiful answer, very, very nice answer. Prabhu, I have two small questions. Usually I'm very shy, Prabhu, to ask question. I think people will think, oh, what stupid question. So I don't know. So one question, you talked about desire, that desire is root cause of everything. So Prabhu, if we desire that I want to go to Krishna and serve, is that okay, Prabhu? Is that okay? That desire is okay? I want to go back to Goloka, don't want to come back here. Is that desire okay, Prabhu?
Yes, that is bona fide. Prabhupada, some places he says that one should be attracted towards the description of the spiritual world. In the Bhagavatam speaks about Vaikuntha's description, and Brahma Samhita talks about the description of Goloka. Katha Ganam Natyam Gavanam Api Vamsi Priyasaki. So that gives description. It's so amazing, and Prabhupada wants the devotees to be attracted to know about these things and to go to this place. So that is our birthright. Our just like we like to go to our own home. So it's not if you're going to office or school or college or any place. Always people wants to go to their home. So similarly, so it is certainly not a it's not a wrong understanding. In fact, this encouraged the great devotees of the Lord. Of course, they got even higher understanding that Swarga apavarga narakeshu apitulyat darshanat sashti samepyam salokyam dhiyamanam api nagrananti vina tat sevanam vina. So they say that Sashti samepyam salokyam, going to the spiritual world of Vaikuntha. If you elevate me to the spiritual world Vaikuntha, but in case if I don't get seva, I don't want to go there. So our understanding is that seva, service is the main our desire. So service means what? Pleasing to the master. So if Krishna is our master, serving him is our constitutional position. So service means what? Pleasing the master. So if he is pleased, our being in the material world or even in the hellish planet or in the Vaikuntha, it doesn't make any difference for the advanced devotees. What they want is a service to him. So in that way, Mahaprabhu, when he prays Mama Janmani Janmani Ishwarya Bhavatad Bhakti Rahitukitui, every birth after birth after birth, I want to be your devotee. Pritrasura, when he prays that, I want the association of the great devotees of the Lord. When Haridas Thakur prays that, let me take birth in as a dog in your devotee's house. So what comes in the forefront is a service attitude and desire for service. So if that is our main desire, then whichever place, whichever geographical area, that doesn't come in so much in the forefront. But there is always a danger in the material world that Maya can capture at any time. So somebody have a desire that they want to go back to spiritual world. That is also a bona fide desire as in pure devotional service.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. That was such a beautiful answer. Of course, it's satisfying, so it's beautiful. And so many chat messages are coming. They said, oh, we want to ask the same question. So everybody got the answer. That's a good thing that I asked. So I'm happy a little bit. My soul is happy. Prabhu, second thing, in the class, you were speaking about the mind, and you said mind is connected to the soul. So Prabhu, my question is, does the soul enjoys or suffer when we do a particular activity, or our subtle body enjoys or suffer when we do a particular activity?
Well, who is enjoying or suffering? Let me read this question later, then I answer this one. So suffering and enjoyment is done by a conscious person, just like if you put a camera in front of a magic show, the camera may film the event, but it cannot enjoy either any emotions, whether happiness or whether comedy or any other things. But the person enjoys, isn't it? So the subtle body and the gross body, it's like the machine which doesn't have any emotions. So subtle body and gross body, it cannot experience the pain and pleasure. So the pain and pleasure is only can be experienced by the conscious living entity, that is Atma. So the enjoyer and the person who is suffering is the spirit soul, no doubt about it. But the enjoyment he is enjoying through the medium of body. So the eyes are like a camera. So the camera is capturing the moments, but the experiencing the happiness enjoyment is done by the person who is seeing the movie or seeing the particular recorded show. So the happiness and the misery is experienced by the living entity, not either the gross body or subtle body. That's why we say that these senses are the medium instruments. So they are the instrument by which we are experiencing. Mind is also an instrument. Manashashtan indriyani prakritisthani karshati. So through the mind, the jiva experience and suffers. So mana evahi manushyanam karanam bandha mokshaye. So when it is asked what is the cause of our bondage, so Bhagavatam says mana evahi manushyanam. Manusya means the atma, jivas. Karanam bandha mokshaye. So mind is a cause for the bandha, means like a bondage, moksha, liberation. So mind is a cause, but mind itself is not experiencing either liberation or happiness or distress. Bandhaya vishaya sangan muktaiva nirvishayam manaha. What is the cause for bondage? Mind's attachment or mind's association with the material nature. It's a cause for the bondage. And bandhaiva nirvishayam manaha. When the mind is away from the material senses, material sense object, then that is a cause for our liberation. So in this way, these are the instruments. Just like to give the modern example, how can you say that when we drive the vehicle, when the vehicle, the car, four-wheelers wheel is been stuck in some pothole. So we are sitting in the vehicle. So we are all, just the vehicle got stuck in the pothole. The person sitting in the vehicle is also got stuck. But the vehicle doesn't experience, oh, I'm stuck now, I can't move now, I can't roll now. But the person driving the vehicle or the owner sitting inside the vehicle, he suffers. Oh, my car is not moving, is stuck now, is stuck now. So when you'll get happiness, when the car is removed from the pothole. So similarly, as long as we have this mind, what causes bondage is that the mind, like a vehicle stuck in the pothole of association of this material nature. But when the same mind is removed, same car is removed from the pothole, it can run smoothly, and the passenger and the driver runs happily in the vehicle. The vehicle itself doesn't undergo any suffering or happiness. So similarly, when the mind is removed from the association of material nature and offered in the lotus feet of Krishna, then the jiva through the mind experiences the great bliss and happiness and the natural happiness of serving Krishna. But the mind, when it is attached to the material sense gratification, then he suffers. So suffering and enjoyment is experienced by the jiva, not the instrument such as mind and the senses, subtle or gross sense. Is it make sense, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. But the one thing that comes to my mind why I asked this question was that our soul is Satchit Ananda, because we are part and parcel of Krishna. So this Satchit Ananda, who is full of bliss, how can it, how is it connected to the suffering and happiness of? So that's why I asked, Prabhu.
The Atma is Satchitananda and Krishna is Paramatma. Krishna is also Satchitananda. But the Atma is called Tatastha Shakti. Tatastha means the Jiva is called as Apareya Midastanyam Prakritim Vidhime Para Jiva Bhuta Mahabhago Yedam Dharyate Jagat. Krishna says that the material world is Krishna's Apara Prakriti, that means inferior nature. Bhumi Rapo Nalovaya Kammano Buddhirevacha Ahankara Vidhiyanme Bhinna Prakritis. This is a Bhinna Prakriti. Krishna's inferior, separated nature is this material world. But the Jiva is Apareya Mitastanyam. Beyond that, there is Jiva, the living entities, who Jayedam Dharite Jagat. He can actually hold in the whole material nature. Why? Because why Krishna created this material world? We ask a question whether Krishna created a material world or Jiva created a material world. What answer you can give?
I would say we created it.
Krishna created the material world for the jivas.
Desire. Krishna created Jiva's desire.
Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada says that the government creates the jail and also the university. So government creates it for government knows that there will be criminals. Like that's what the example Prabhupada gives. Sorry for interjecting.
So the criminal creates a jail, or government creates a jail, or the university creates a jail. The third angle is by Prahlad Anand Prabhu. Interesting, that makes sense. So if he asks who creates the material world, so it can be said Krishna created, Jiva created. So Jiva is creating in the sense, because of Jiva's need, Krishna creates material world. The need is not there, then there is no product only, isn't it? So, so the Jiva, even though by nature is Satchitananda, he is full of knowledge, intelligence, knowledge and eternal and bliss in nature. But being a Tatastha in nature, Tatastha means, just like in the ocean bank, some area will be either water or it is land when the waves comes in between. So the Jiva has a tendency to be in his original nature called Satchidananda, or also he can be temporarily, he undergoes miseries. Unnaturally, he undergoes sufferings also. There is a difference between Krishna and the living entities. When Arjuna asked this question to Krishna, that you say you and Arjuna, you and me have taken so many births, but you remember them all, but I don't remember why. How can I understand that you both of us have taken many births? And Krishna says that Bahuni me janmani vyatitani tavacha Arjuna. Tani ahameta sarvani natvam meta parantapa. That me and you, Arjuna, have taken many births. Tani aham beta. Tani, all those births, aham beta, I understand. Natvam beta parantapa, but you don't understand, you don't remember. So if the Jiva is full of knowledge, Satchit Ananda, knowledge means, remember, knowledge means knowledge. Knowledge means knowing things. But then how Arjuna forgets that he has taken birth along with Krishna? Arjuna's case, because of Yoga Maya. And our case is that our knowledge is covered by the Maya. When knowledge covers, what happened? We forget. Similarly, when you forget, what happened? With the ignorance, we perform activity which are not to our nature. So when we perform wrong activities, our ananda is also covered, and we undergo miseries. We experience misery. So that misery is temporary, just like diamond, is covered by mud. So it is not the natural thing. The diamond is covered by the mud, but the mud is removed. The diamond automatically, if it brights, it effulgence comes out. Similarly, the sufferings of the jiva experience is a temporary suffering. It is not belongs to it, but the suffering is real. The pleasure is real. That's the difference between Mayavadis and Vaishnavis. Mayavadi says that everything is Maya. The suffering is also Maya, and the enjoyment is also Maya. Maya, in the sense what they say, it is not existing at all. It's just illusion. But the Vaishnava says it is illusory, but it is not illusion. Illusory means it is temporary in nature. It is not always going to exist, but it is real. So it is illusory but real. Mayavadi says it is illusion and not at all existing. So we say this pleasure and pain is experienced by the jiva, even though he is Sachidananda, but he experiences this pleasure and pain, which is very temporary, which is not belongs to him. But the experiences are real. Let's understand.
Thank you
That is
so much.
what makes a difference between Krishna and Jiva. Otherwise, what is the difference between Krishna and Jiva? Krishna also never undergoes suffering. His knowledge is never covered by Maya. His eternality is always the same. Krishna is eternal in the sense he never doesn't undergo any changes of birth, old age, disease, and death. But Jiva's in the material world, he undergoes all these things. What his ananda is bliss is covered by the misery, and his knowledge is covered by the avidya. He forgetfulness undergoes, and eternality in the sense that he forgets his various births and he accesses various bodies. So in this way, that's what makes us different. That's what makes Krishna different from us. That's what makes Krishna superior to us. So these four kinds of people, those were five kinds we can say. The matter, this material nature, matter is one thing, which is doesn't have consciousness, doesn't suffer or doesn't experience happiness, this material world. And there is the living entity who are at bondage, who are nitya samsari, who is always miserable in this world. Third is that the living entity who are freed from this bondage and attain liberation. Fourth is that those jivas who are always with Krishna, the eternal associates, who never even smell the fragrance of material nature. And fifth personality is a Purushottama, who is Supreme Personality Godhead Krishna. These are the five things. First one is the matter, which doesn't have any feelings. It's a dead matter. Second is the jiva, who is bonded in this material world from time immemorial. Third is a liberated jiva. Fourth is a eternal liberated jiva. And all different from all these four, the Supreme Personality Godhead Krishna. This is what is the different understanding in our Siddhanta. There should be our it's like a Mahavakyas. We should have an understanding of that. Does it make sense, Prabhu?
It just completely makes sense, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Just this is how stupid I am, Prabhu. I completely forgot that marginal potency, that I am actually that marginal potency, and I do get in state of happiness and distress on the shore, which is sometimes wet and sometimes dry. So thanks for reminding me, and hopefully I
You
think
are not
question
stupid. Looks like you are liberated.
No, Prabhu. I'm
The marginal
completely...
potency you've forgotten.
Thank you, Prabhu. Prabhuji, there is a question in chat box from Asha Mataji. If you have some more time, Prabhu.
Okay.
Ekadashi
today.
Yes, today is Ekadashi. Asha Mataji is a very regular attendee. Her microphone is not working, or speaker is not working. So she's asking, first of all, she's glorifying the class, very beautiful class. So Asha Mataji is asking, thank you for a blissful class, Prabhuji. You said about understanding. So my question regarding understanding, can there be an understanding which is the weed and which is the Bhakti Lata creeper? And how we can understand whether we are watering the weeds instead of the Bhakti Lata creeper in the desire of remaining in Krishna consciousness?
Yeah. So our acharyas carefully warning us to differentiate between Bhakti Lata and other weeds. So how to understand that? Rupa Goswami has given us a understanding in the nectar of instruction. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpaniyam agraha janasangasya laulyam cha shadbir bhaktir vinashyati. So very beautifully he gives us a understanding that what are the weeds. Atyahara. Prayasa. Atyahara means acquiring more than what we need. Prayas, the endeavoring for unachievable things, unwanted things. prajalpa, talking unnecessary subject matter, niyamagraha, not neglecting our duties in Krishna consciousness, or just doing things for the sake of doing without understanding the spirit behind that. Jana sangasya laulyamsya, that greed for things which are not necessary for us to acquire, and associating with unwanted people. So these are the weeds. We should carefully try to avoid it. So when the weeds are distinct, we can easily remove it. But sometimes the weed is, this particular, what do you call this? Generally understood phenomena. What do you call in English? That word?
Weed.
No, that they hide themselves and like some animals they
camouflage.
Yes, camouflage. Yes. Sometimes the weed we don't understand from the creeper, so that become a little difficult. So that's why we need a lot of guidance, and we should understand what is camouflage and what is the real thing. So that for subtle things, for detailed things, we really need a guidance and shastric advice and studying of the shastras. So which is weed, which is which is real creeper. So sometimes it doesn't become very clear. Any example for like in the pastime of Raghunath Das Goswami, that devotee Ramdas Viswas, he was all the time coming with him, and 24 hours he was chanting Ram's name. So he was really inspired by him, and he was not only chanting Ram's name, he was so humble. He was very much wanted to serve Raghunath, that he wanted to carry his luggage and all. To such an extent, such a humble Goswami offered his luggage for him to be carried. Can you imagine such a humility? Unless genuinely asked, he could not have given us. So he came to Mahaprabhu, but Mahaprabhu completely neglected this Ramdas. This was why? Because even though he's chanting, but within his heart, he desired to become one with God, one with Ram. So Mahaprabhu could understand the weed. Even the Goswami could not apparently understand. Isn't it? So sometimes things are very subtle, very very subtle. That's why we need a regular investigation of the shastras, that we have to study the shastra and investigate, understand what it says and how we are applying in our life. And also we need expert guidance, spiritual master, both Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru and senior devotees. They will tell us what is weed and what is real thing. Sometimes some devotees, in the name of devotion service, they will neglect their children, their family, and want to do bhakti. But then it creates a lot of reverse lashes to them. So bhakti, sometimes studying Bhagavatam may become obstacle in bhakti. So you may wonder how it, that if a devotee has to cook for the deities and Krishna and for the devotees, then if he says I want to study Bhagavatam, instead of cooking, but then that studying of Bhagavatam in one sense will become a jnana, is become like a more of a jnani than bhakta. So in our temple, once we had announced the examination for the brahmacharis. So the day before examination, every devotees were studying. We lost exams in school, colleges years back. When the exams came, all the devotees went back to their student mode and they were studying. So one devotee who is doing a beautiful painting, so he's also started studying. So then the spiritual master Maharaj came in the rounds, just see what devotees are doing. So when he came there, he saw in his studio he was studying, Bhagavad Gita. Then as usual, Maharaj asked him, "So how is your service going on?" So then he understood there's something wrong I am doing. By the way he asked question. So then Maharaj said, "Tomorrow is exam. I am studying Gita." "Oh, you are studying Gita. It's very nice, very nice." Then came the second one. I'm wondering what if the devotees who is cooking in the kitchen, if he also studies now, what all you will do for your dinner today? So in this way he realized that we have our services, our duties to perform. So even in bhakti also there is particular way Sometimes the Krishna Katha can also be, in one sense, a transcendental Prajalpa. Our devotees want that sometimes devotees inspired to speak Krishna Katha at night, 9:30, 10, 10:30, 11. So if we are talking Krishna Katha, we are talking Krishna's pastime, Krishna related things, not Prajalpa. But if we do that, then next day morning, now we're enthusiastically talking about preaching about our bhakti or related things. But the next day morning, we may not be able to get up for our services. So then what happens? So even if it is Krishna's service also, but there has to be regulated devotional service. We are not in the transcendental level of great Goswamis. We can chant for hours together. We can take prasadam till our neck, and we can. So I think we have to regulate devotional service. So to such an extent that Bhagavatam and Krishna Katha can also be an apparent impediment. We can't say, oh, Krishna, I discussed about you at night 11:30, 12 o'clock, so you should have woken me up in the morning. So you can't ask Krishna. Some devotees may say, see, I spoke about Krishna Katha. So Krishna was very happy and pleased with me. So he didn't disturb my sleep. So he put me to rest in the morning till 6 o'clock, So these are all this improper understanding also the weed, which is very, very difficult to identify, We underwent a lot of difficulties ourselves, in our beginning of our life, So we are talking Krishna Katha, it is right, One devotee was worshipping deities. So he dropped the small brass deities. Then he said, oh, Krishna is, Madan Gopal is running from my hand, So he's not running from your hand, you are dropping him. So these are all the many, many subtle things are there. Not even sometimes we look back, it looks like very stupid mistakes. So these kind of stupid things, we think these are all bhakti. We may go on like that. But this has to come by studying of the Shastras, hearing from the spiritual master, learning from the senior Vaishnavas. But still certain things will sink in during the due course of time by our own experience. So, but we should be understanding that we should know these things are there first of all. We shouldn't be in a utopia that everything is nice. I understood everything, things go nice. So we have to be carefully endeavor to understand what is weed and what is not. Nice question. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope this answered.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, Goshtha Srila Prabhupada. Thank
Hare
you so much.
Krishna.
Thank you so much. Very, very wonderful class. And you are speaking like from long time, you have so much patience. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So many points. We can talk like all day like that. Thank you so much. So I think we should end now because it's getting so late for Prabhuji.
Thank you for
also.
patiently putting up with me and giving this opportunity to serve all of you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Shamagori Mataji. Thank you, Parlana. Thank you, all the devotees for attending. Thank you, Prabhu, for your services. Thank you for such a beautiful class. Thank you for a beautiful question answer session too. And as you said, only spiritual master can know what is weed and what is our bhakti creeper. So we should listen to spiritual master and then we will understand, hopefully. So dear devotees, let us pray our obeisances to Prabhuji. It's getting late too. Vancha kalpatarubhishya sindhubevacha patitanam pavanebhyo namah. Mantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ji ki Jai. Nityananda Prabhu ji ki Jai. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for your time.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, Prabhuji.